Good morning, my beautiful people. I just wanted to come and just shed some light on something that I've been going through and I've been getting through. And somebody out there could use this piece of information because I know that there's people out there who are not where they want to be, but they're pushing and they're trying. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. No, I've learned that you have to stop showing up for people in ways that you think is being moved by God. Like, we tend to do things and don't involve God, and not everybody's gonna do that, but living life, you have to involve God, because there's gonna be times where you're gonna understand that, excuse me, this move is not of God. We as humans, we do things, excuse me, in our own understanding. Like, that's why they say you have your path, his path, and then that negative devil's path. Like, we have free will. So that's how I divide them. You got God's way, your own understanding, and then you just blatantly doing devilish negative shit. So at the end of the day, I choose to follow the plan that God has for my life. And then how I do that, I involve God. I get in his word to get to know him and draw closer to him. And I just like sit and I wait at times, and I allow the Lord to move in my life, because there's seasons for everything. So at the end of the day, I learned that you can't show up in the ways that you feel, oh, in your heart, this is something that the Lord is moving me to do. Or no, sometimes we're just moving on our own understanding, and we thinking that because we're showing up and we're doing good things, this is of the God. This is, something that I'm supposed to be doing. No, no, no. Because in the word it says the heart will deceive us at times. So at the end of the day, is really seeking and knowing when and where, and the time and the place and the seasons. Like, you have to really pay attention to how things keep showing up and how people keep showing up. I've learned to even step back from my family. I love them motherfuckers to death, but I've learned that I am not God. I cannot do what he's in place to be doing. There's certain things in life that they're going to have to do on their own. And I'm not going to be able to be that person to help them out. And I've gave myself a good motherfucking break by stepping back. Like, it has helped me a lot to actually recollect and to just give myself that peace of mind. Because when you're picking up others' slack, or when you're not even saying they're slacking or whatever, but when you're picking up where people can't seem to get through, that's on them to turn to God. I mean, I help the children, the younger ones who are not responsible for their own sins yet, because they do not know no better. So because they don't know, you have to teach them and reassure them and raise them up how you want them to be. Well, how would expect them to grow and to stay in line on this path. But we all have free will. We all are meant to walk certain paths alone. So at the end of the day, until them little babies get, responsible, that's who we're supposed to be looking out for. Grown people who are responsible for their own sins and their own doings, they have a choice to make. So me personally, I'm not going to keep showing up for somebody who's blatantly doing shit to keep themselves stuck. And I'm not going to spread myself thin by always trying to be there. No, that's where there's God. The same way I had to struggle and go through certain things, people in this world have to learn that they have to go through shit, and they're not always going to have that help. And that's just life. I've learned that if I keep showing up for people in ways that they should be showing up for themselves, they're going to always run to me and think that I can fix the situation, think that I can. No, I get tired too. I'm not God. I'm still being worked on. So at the end of the day, and it's just blatant stupid. Why would you keep showing up for somebody who can't and is not trying to help themselves? No. You could do that. But me personally, I'm not doing that. Because you can kill yourself trying to carry someone and their burdens and their weight. It's not happening. Not over here. I'm sorry. The way that I live my life, I ask the Lord to give me direction. I ask the Lord to move me, and I listen. I'm obedient. That's why in my life I've found peace. I've found joy. I've been, fulfilled with the Holy Spirit, because I know when and where and the time and place for me to show up, and the time and place that I am needed. So, as somebody out there that needs to hear this and that needs to know that you need to step back. You need to stop trying to be the peacemaker and the person that's going to show up every single time, because all you're doing is killing yourself. When does people show up for you? When you keep showing up for people and they're not asking you, and you're just thinking you're saving the day, and you can't be mad when they're in a good space or when you're down and they don't acknowledge you. Because the Lord said sometime, well, for me, I've understood and I've read this, and the people that you help is not going to be the people who come back and bless you. There's always going to be down the line, or somebody that's connected to you are going to get blessed, or they're going to get helped, or it's like a cycle. It's like karma. When you put out good karma, it's going to come back, but it's not going to come back individually from those people that you've helped. And that's just something you got to understand. You need to step back. You need to stop trying to be super saver and stop trying to be, oh, I'm going to help this person and then you feel some type of way when you're not helped in the time of your need. It's not up to them to help you. You can help your brother, your sister, your mom, and then when they get in that space, they don't have to come back and help you just because you helped them. That's being, what is that word? What is that word? Oh, man. Holy Spirit, help me. I can't get it right now. But if you know, put it in the comments, or you just know. But it's a certain phrase I know for it. And you just can't be that way, because that's setting yourself up for expectations. There we go. That's you're expecting, and you're not supposed to do that. When you do something from your heart and you just do it and you let it go, you move on. You don't look for that back in the long run, because God is the one who prepares, who delays, who cancels, who takes away, who gives. Unless you're walking on your own understanding, then, But me, solely, I walk with the Lord because I know that I am always and forever protected. And I am always and forever going to be strengthened. I don't have to sit in pity or sit and worry and feel bad or feel like, oh, I've helped this person and they're not helping me and they're not. I know that God is going to repay me, and it could be more time of my life. It ain't always financial. It's not always with love but I know when the time is right, when it is needed, God is going to show up for me. I don't depend on man. I don't depend on people, because as human, they are meant to, whoa, that was a distraction. But they are meant to let you down. Humans, they're never satisfied. There is never enough. It's like a never-ending cycle. You can do something, and it's just like, it just wasn't enough. You got to go to extreme. I ain't doing that. I've learned I don't have to do that. I've lived to solely please God. I'm not perfect. I'm a sinner. I make mistakes. But the difference with me is that I learn and I take accountability, and I sit back and I analyze and I get in full detail on how I can do this better. How can I show up for myself? Because you got to learn how to help yourself before you jump and try to help other people. I've learned that when I step back, I don't feel guilty for not showing up for my people or showing up for people that needs help. No, you can show up in different ways. I've learned that on the streets. I see a homeless person. I'm not going to say, hey, come live in my house because I feel bad or I feel sorry. I can get you a meal. I can go get you a jacket, a blanket, but it's just certain extents that you need to not try to go, because that's not your responsibility. This world was made perfectly in God's image and in God's creation. Sorry. We as people was made perfectly in God's image. But there was things that happened along the way and sins, but that's why we have free will, because it's a choice. It's a choice that you get up and you make every day to wear yourself thin or to show up for yourself and to just do things that you know should be done. I'm not giving people all of me because I need something from myself. I have to show up for myself. I have to be able to pour into me and then go out and pour into people who needs it. You got to stop showing up for people that is not showing up for themselves. You got to stop showing up for people who keep throwing pity parties year and month and like, what are you going to do with yourself? It's either you pull yourself out the rut or you're going to stay there. Because as we know, God is not physically coming down and saying, hey, give me your hand, Joanne. Hey, give me your hand, John. No. At some point in time and place, you have to know, all right, I'm tired of sitting here. Let me get my ass up. God will meet you in the middle. But he's not going to do all the work for you. Faith without works is dead. You cannot say I have faith and you're not believing in yourself enough to push yourself to do and step out on faith and do something different. You got to be willing and ready to fail. But in your mind, you have to know, and in your heart, you're going to make it. You got to keep believing and get up every day and strive for that. Nobody's going to do that for you. And if you keep being a crutch and just that for another person, how are they ever going to learn to walk and do it on their own? That grave ain't got no bump beds. Stress can kill you. Trying to please a person who's never happy or who's never getting it, that shit it destroy you. Mentally, you got to be able to say, I'm done. You got to learn to let go and let God. God can do everything man can't. God can do the impossible. I believe it. God is a good God. And he's loving. And he's forgiving. And he's merciful. Like, he's everything. But you got to trust him. You got to know that the same way you made it, and even if it wasn't on the time that you expected, it wasn't on, when you look back, you know that things have changed because they're not the same. Whether it's good or it's bad, things is changing. But we as people have to learn to be patient. Patience is a virtue. My grandpa always told me that. You know, there's reward in suffering. When God sees that you can sit and I wrote this down in my book. There's character built in suffering, disappointment, no's, pain. Like there's character. So that's why seasons of all of these things is needed. Because it's preparation. God needs to prepare us for what he's about to bring us into, for what he's about to use us to do. You don't just go in the kitchen and put the chicken in a damn plate and say it's done. You gotta thaw it. You gotta clean it. You gotta season it. It's preparation. There's steps. There's a process. Nothing happens overnight. And that's the beauty in life. Because I used to say it to myself, 1 year to me is 1 day to God. He can change things in a blink of an eye. But if you're just not getting it, why would he take you from this and place you in this? You ain't ready. If he gives it to you too fast, you might destroy it. You're gonna fumble it. You're gonna mess up. And then there's times where he will take you places that you wasn't even ready for. Well, you think you wasn't ready for. But you were being worked on the whole time. God is amazing. Like, he's really amazing. It says, we build that space between ourselves and God because we choose to sin, and then we just think, oh, if I repent, we're just forgiven. We're forgiven. No, it's like you're slapping God in the face. Yeah. God brings wrath. And As well as people say God is forgiven, God is this, God is that. God's will is going to be done with or without you. So it's either you get on board or he going to keep rolling. he gonna move on. Like, I mean, he ain't gonna forget about you, but his will has to be done, and it's gonna get done one way or another. So if you're cold, why not jump in? Why not stand up and take the blessings that was meant for you? You gonna let the devil trick you out your spot? And sometimes it ain't even the devil, it's yourself, because you're letting your mind get the best of you. And I can sit here and talk all day, but I just want to shed some light on that. Like, move out the way. Stop trying to help people who not helping themselves. Stop showing up for people who keep repeatedly doing the same thing, who not getting it right. You just pray for them and allow God to do his will, his works in their life. And whenever that is, it's whenever it is, because it's on God's time. My shoulder is on fire. But yeah, let God show up and show out. Stop trying to be that person, because you're not God. Let God do his job. We are all God's children. Speak life. Give your input. But stop wearing yourself thin. Allow people to fall, because we are all God's children. If they choose their path, allow them to live in it. I had to learn that. I had to learn that if I'm walking this fine line and I choose to follow the Lord, that's what I choose to do. Bad company corrupts good people. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to stay around people and try to keep on. No, Jesus knew who was going to follow him. Jesus ain't fighting, argue nobody down and say, I'm trying to teach you the word. Well, look at here. And he got stuck. He didn't get stuck. He kept it moving because he was on a mission. He ain't let nobody get in between that mission and that calling he knew that him and his father had. There was times he had to wait. There was days and nights he prayed. And he had to wait on the Lord. So at the end of the day, what makes us any different? Yeah, I can say the Bible ain't real, this, that, and the third, but I see life happening today that's similar to the stories in that Bible. So for me and my own understanding, my spirit, it knows that I have a deeper calling. My soul, it yearns for difference, for change, for betterment of the world. And the devil tried to trick me. And my own self tried to trick me. I had to block it out. I had to start showing up for myself and for the Lord. And start really getting shit done. Stop playing. Time waits for no one. Time is going to pass. You can't stop the time. You either jump in, you either stay still, or you just going to die where you at. And it seems harsh, but you gotta get up every day and push yourself. You gotta sit down with yourself and evaluate what needs to change. What do I need to do different? You have to be the change that you want to see in the world. It starts with you. You can't change nobody until you change yourself. You gotta practice what you preach. I've learned that. I've moved away from a lot of things that I can challenge somebody on because I've dealt with that. I've learned to let go. I've learned to trust. I've learned to wait. I've learned to depend solely on the Lord. And it's not easy. It's not easy. So I'm not going to sit here and say like it was some walk in the park for me. It wasn't. It took me time. It took me prayer. It took me fighting in the spirit. It took me really understanding and grasping who I was and standing firmly in that. Because there's going to be people that come up against you. It's going to be spirits that come up against you. It's going to be people who dislike you, who hate you, who speak negative and who try to diminish your light. And all that's cool. You got to wish them well. God bless. and remain in who you are. You pray for them. Because when the time is right, the table's going to turn. When you seek the Lord, He comes. You cry out and you give it all to Him in Jesus' name. And you really mean it, because God knows our heart before we even speak. That's why a person can sit here with you and they can say, yeah, I love you, but in their heart, they really is just,